up? Welcome to Little Birdie Podcast. I'm your host, Skirt. This is a show sponsored by topsport.com.au and Punting Form. This is a unique look into the world of sports betting from the eyes of professionals, and MG is in studio with me. How are you, MG?
Yeah, good, Skirt. It was an indifferent weekend. We've survived it, and more importantly, have you survived it?
I've survived it, yeah.
First week of fatherhood, all goes smoothly.
Sleeping and drinking milk exceptionally well. And
what about the baby?
Yeah, mate, to tell you what, after it was celebration time. Hawks upsetting the Western Bulldogs. It's easy watch there, but things are going well in the household. Getting 9:30 till 3 a.m. sleeps, and then a little bit of a feed, and then sleeping until 6:30 or 7. So very blessed at the moment. Very relaxed baby, and doing it easily, but apparently that can turn on a dime. So we've had 3 good nights in a row, and fingers crossed it can continue for this weekend of sport, because it's an absolute beauty with the AFL. We've got one more round to go, and the matchups are incredible. But a couple of sick beats, the GWS game, the Swans game. It's just classic, and people sitting at home have got no idea, or the majority of people, unless you're betting and invested. But the last couple of minutes, and you bet on these totals all the time, and I'm saying it's taking years off your life. But
That's right. I'll live to 100, so it doesn't matter.
The 40 plus in the GWS game, that was up in the air, and so was the Swans game and the Kangaroos. The line there was 14.5. Come down to the final minutes of the game.
Yeah, I always you always know when there's a bad beat coming. Or it's just happened, because when you're in gambling chat rooms on your phone,
lights up.
The phone just lights up, and it doesn't even matter if you're involved or it's a different sport like league. If there's a bad beat, all of a sudden there's just the chatosphere is crazy. But there was. We weren't involved in all of the so-called bad beats on the weekend, so you're not always speaking from your pocket, but just generally, like, the bookies would have had an absolute fill-up on the Giants 40-plus against Richmond to open the weekend, and Richmond, who have done nothing all week, end up kicking 2 goals in the last minute to take it from 51 to 39. So the margin there would have been horrific for the bookmakers side of thing. I think a lot of punters actually might have been cheering, because if you'd taken the Giants, the smarter play would have been the 1 to 39. The one I was involved in was the Melbourne Adelaide game under 157.5. You work hard to keep, it's always a tough cheer. It's a tougher cheer on the under, because it's all about wasting time. And this total was at 157.5 with 2.5 minutes left on the clock, and you got 3 goals to beat you in 2.5 minutes. Junk time, Melbourne have got the game under control, and Fritsch decides to go on a tear and ends up kicking 3 goals inside that, to obviously make the total go over. And the double banger was when he kicked the last goal after the siren, was it also took the Melbourne out of the 1 to 39 slot, and they land the 41. So it's crazy. The swings sometimes on one goal that can go against you. But the worst beat I thought of the weekend was the Kangaroos Sydney game. It was probably an anchor in a lot of
26 points. It was
an anchor in a lot of mine. Unfortunately, they went under. The Swans minus 14.5 line. Up 26 points with a lazy 90 seconds on the clock, and they end up kicking 2 goals, one after the siren, to land it back on 14 from 26, and you get done by half a point or get done by a point. So it's
this is madness. Anyone, you just have to be totally sick to be a punter. But the GWS Giants have put a couple of weeks solidly back-to-back. They've been a riddle all season. Their performances are very yo-yo-like, but they're starting to really entrench themselves into the 8. And I think the 8 looks pretty solid now in terms of who deserves to be there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
I think GWS, they're going to get back Toby Green, and they've got a bunny this week to really steal themselves and cement their position in the 8.
Yeah,
they got Carlton.
They're a hard team to catch all year, and they've lucky for them, they've caught fire at the right time, and they're still doing it with injuries as well. It's not like they've got their players back and making a run. They've kind of done it on the fly. 2 big important wins to get there, and now, as you said, they've just got to virtually pad up on the weekend, I think, and get the job done. Be really disappointing if they dropped off to Carlton, who appear legless and already on holidays for mine. So, and Essendon the same. I know it's a traditional match against Collingwood, and Collingwood would probably like nothing better than to knock Essendon out of the finals, but their capabilities are long gone as well, and I think they're on holidays as well. So, yeah, it'd be disappointing if we come back here next week and either the Giants or Essendon aren't playing finals, because I think out of the ones that are left, with West Coast and Richmond dropping off a perch, I think they'll account for themselves the best.
Western Bulldogs, shock loss. They were insipid.
Yeah,
by their standards.
Yeah, they were. Well, to put 37 points on in a game non-weather related is terrible. To do it to a bottom four side's worse, especially when you're a high offensive side as well. And now they've got, what were they, 2 weeks ago, they were looking almost locks for the minor premiership, the way they were going. And now have got to come out and beat another top four side to stay in the top four, if Ways goes out. So, well, the pressure's gone on them, and again, we spoke about it last week in brief with losing Bruce and how much that would impact, and a bit like Brisbane with Hipwood, took them a couple of weeks to readjust. So Bulldogs are going to have to turn it around quickly, though, because obviously the finals start next week. So
maybe their mind just wasn't on the job. They were thinking about Port this week. It's going to be fascinating to see how they bounce back. Let's have a look at the round 22 results and have a look at the bookie wrap to see how the bookies fared. The favourites went 6-9 at 67%. So better story for the favourite punters there. The line still favoured the plus there, 3 out of 9, 33% covered the faves. And then the overs, the totals, good news for you, MG, 6 out of 9 went over. And then if you have a look at it for the season, the faves are hitting at 121 out of 189 games at 64%, so still low on past seasons' averages, and then the line 82 and 189 at 43%. So if you back the plus, you're in business there, and the totals are nearly smack back on 99 out of 189. The Sting, not a good outcome for you. 8-unit loss, just when you're starting to get your head back up out of the water.
Yeah, it was making a run. Unfortunately, 2 of those we've just discussed briefly were horrendous beats, really. So that kind of swung the weekend a bit, but anyway, on to round 23 and try and get those units back.
Hits and misses for the week. Let's see where the money went. GDOS line was 9.5 to 5.5. They absolutely pissed in, 39-point win there. The under was a miss, though, 163 to 158, so the totals soared over there at 173. The total in the Hawks game, 163 to 158, 101 there, and Port Adelaide, they were smashed at the line. That's a big go, isn't it? 32 minus 32.5 to 41.5, and 95-point victory there. And the Melbourne line was middled, as you've already spoken about, 40.5 to 44.5. So interesting stuff there. And the AFL, they've got really lucky with how the final round has played out here. It's unbelievable the way it's fallen, and it's incredible. It's an incredible finale for the season, but it leads us into the sting of the tail, where it's a mess where they're going to have the grand final, and it's a massive issue given how the states are, I guess, dictating the rules around COVID. And a couple of weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, Eddie constructed this amazing plan about how Melbourne could have this MCG precinct. We sort of joked about it and said, "Oh, look, 4 or 5 or 6 weeks is a long time in footy. Then no moral to have it with Melbourne with COVID. It could be anywhere." And I think the finals venue for the grand final, it's an absolute mystery, especially with Mark McGowan coming out and saying all players need to be vaccinated. Jack Rewalt's come out and said, well, players aren't even eligible to get a vaccine. How's that going to get all rushed through in 3 weeks? We've been talking about it all year and trying to find an edge in the premiership market to see, is Brisbane going to be more favoured because it's likely to be at Queensland? Is going to be Port Adelaide going to be favoured? West Coast have fallen away. Fremantle have fallen away. So there's no real advantage for either side if it's going to be played at Perth. Like crystal ball, where's it going to be played? And what are your thoughts on the whole fiasco? Because the AFL want fans at the grand final.
Yeah,
it's a mess at the moment.
Yeah, I think. I'm not too across the McGowan thing, but I think that was an error when he come on and in his press. It's not the first time a politician's made an error in a press conference recently, but he should have checked his facts. That I'm sure in the discussions that are going on that the players can't be vaxxed in time anyway. So that was a bit of a dumb comment to make, and they put clip it up and put it across social, or the news. But I think the AFL just have to sit in the pocket right now. I don't think they can go I'm sure they've got parameters of where they have to wait, especially for the grand final. They're probably going to wait until maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I think that's why now they've moved the bye, just so they've got that 2 weeks preparation, because they're probably even going to wait until the prelims.
As late as possible to make the call.
Well, they could. I'm not sure. I'm sure they've got a time parameter where they have to make a decision by, and there's no need to rush it before it. So whether that is pre or after the prelims, when they know what teams are left, or just see what states are handling the COVID the best and stuff like that. So, I don't think. I know they want crowds, and obviously Perth would be the main one for that, and maybe Adelaide, but just can't see it in Melbourne. So, but then you're going to have teams. Scott for Geelong, and he's got it right. Like, if you finish on top or second, you want the home ground advantage. So, I understand from a player's point of view, they want the crowd. But I'm sure the hierarchy, the teams, the coach, if Chris Scott was asked whether he'd want to play a final at Geelong with no crowd, or would he rather play Perth at whatever crowd they produce over there, I know what he would say. He doesn't want to play. He doesn't want to play. Yeah. No, he can say that outwardly, but downwards he's not voting for it. And I think Goodwin the other day was the same thing. On one of the footy channels, might have even been 360 show, where he came on and he said the MCG is where the home of football is, that's their home ground, and that's their preference to play.
Well, do you think, okay, so let's narrow down the options. Sydney's off the table because COVID's everywhere. Yep. There's no way it'll get played there. Tassie seems to be out of favour with the AFL, given Peter Goodwin's come out sort of swinging about the franchise or the next licence, so I doubt they'd be there. Perth have got the vaccination problem, and Perth also, if they get 1 or 2 cases, they've proven in the past, as soon as they get 1 or 2 cases, bang, crowds weren't allowed to the West Coast Eagles game a few weeks ago against the Western Bulldogs. That was a situation that arose in 24 hours, and boom, the game got cancelled there. South Australia's another one who goes. Well, they shut down the state, but I think they'll be more inclined to give exemptions. But again, how are they going to let the crowds in if they're trigger happy? Yeah. As soon as they get some local outbreak, they remove people from their houses. It's in their legislation that you can get thrown into a medical hotel. So it's a real doozy. So then it flips me back to thinking, well, maybe it's Queensland who seem to turn a blind eye and let things through, and then they'll shut down. They'll let a crowd in, and then 2 days later they'll say, okay, the whole thing's shut down again. So it's a mess. And then all of a sudden you've nearly done a lap of Australia and you're back at the MCG. So if Victoria can get on top of this latest outbreak, which they seem to be 2 weeks behind, by early September, if they get through a couple of finals matches without crowds, maybe it is back at the MCG by that stage. I wouldn't like to be betting on it.
The optics is not a good look, an empty MCG, and we saw that again on the weekend. It's very, you hear too much. There's no crowd, and then they go over to Perth, and unfortunately, it reminds us how good it is of having a packed house, or with the Derby. But my vote's Brisbane. Let's keep it in Brisbane. They did a good job last year.
You got your early tickets on Brizzy.
We're all cheering for Brisbane. Let's play out the finals there, and hopefully get Brisbane to a grand final play out. That'd be good.
So where do you think it will be? First pick and second pick. Where will the grand final be?
It won't come down to COVID cases. Let's be honest. It comes down to money.
Yeah,
it always does. With politicians especially. It won't matter whoever's got cases. They've been making exemptions all year. When states have been shut down, going into lockdown, the AFL get heads up. They'll get them in or wherever they need to be, and then they'll make the rules after it. It comes down to cash, and if Perth want the cash, which they will, and the grand final gets a vote there, it won't matter if they've got 0 cases or they've got 10.
Do you think it'll be a Perth?
That's my vote. I think it has to be favourite at the moment, but whenever the AFL deadline is when they have to make the decision, it'll be made. But it won't come down to COVID cases solely. It'll come down to money. And if the AFL want money and they can sell it to the WA or Adelaide, then they'll be the 2 preference points, I would say. Brisbane would be unlikely to get it 2 years in a row, but if they've got no choice, obviously that would be third. And I think Melbourne's actually last because they don't want to play without crowds of any description. And there's enough supporters over in Perth and Adelaide to get decent crowds, even though they might not have any of their own teams playing. As we saw with the Dreamtime, which was maybe 6-8 weeks ago now, there's enough supporters to get over there, and for a grand final they'll turn up for sure. So I think Perth's the front runner, and it'll come down to cash, not COVID.
I'd probably suggest that maybe South Australia be favourite over Perth, and then I'll have Melbourne as a sneaky little third pick in my trifecta. I think maybe we can overcome this current outbreak, given how far locked down we are. I think there might be a glimmer of hope that it's at the MCG, or maybe I'm just being too optimistic.
You're a brave man to pin any hopes on our government.
Anyway, that's Sting of the Tail. If you can find out or have a different theory, make sure you tag us in on Twitter at Little Birdie TV and give us your reasons as to why you think the GF will be played at a certain venue. It's heating up in Rugby League. Storm Panthers, Roosters, South, all posting big wins. Manly crushed Parramatta. They are absolutely gutless. We'll hear from Top Rope Tedeschi about all things premiership betting there in the NRL and the final week's action. We'll do Lock of the Week. I got the Western Bulldogs beat, and I think they're a good thing against Port this week, but I won't put him in my Lock of the Week and give him the kiss of death. MG thinks he's found an absolute rort. He thinks he's found an absolute one-goer that'll pay for everyone's footy season trip, and I'm starting to think it could be right. He's on the money. He's sniffed out a rort. So we'll talk about that next. But if you're having a bet this weekend, make sure you check out topsport.com.au. They've been in the game for 35 years. The Merlihans up at the Gold Coast. They've been juggling COVID. He's got a bit of a COVID catastrophe. Tristan, he's on the border of Coolangatta and Tweed Heads. So they've had all sorts of dramas. They couldn't take phone bets because they can't get people in the office. Absolutely crazy. This is COVID times. But the show must go on, and we'll come back and we'll preview round 23 AFL, and the show continues here. Welcome back to Little Birdie Podcast. I'm your host, Scoot. We've got MG, and it's time to talk the final round of AFL, round 23, and we'll go through the blockbusters, and we'll throw in a bonus rort match as well. There's a one-goer. It's very easy to find, but let's talk about the absolute match of the round, or there's two match of the rounds, but the first one is Friday night at Marvel Stadium. Western Bulldogs $1.70 against Port Adelaide Power $2.17, and the line here is 6.5, but little nibble for Power at the plus.
Yep.
MG, who would have thought the betting would be this tight with these two sides? If you rewound maybe 2 to 4 weeks ago, the Bulldogs have got a massive home ground advantage here, despite no fans. They play this ground sensationally, and Port have the wobbles when they travel, and especially against the top sides. Are you convinced about Port Adelaide's premiership credentials yet, or not?
No, I'm not saying they can't win it. They're definitely there, and I actually think this is their best chance to beat a top side, even though they're away from home. Getting the Bulldogs, who were, as we've said, were a bit unsettled with Bruce going down, and showed again on the weekend. I mean, obviously putting up 37 points against Hawthorn, disgraceful effort from a top side, and now put themselves under enormous pressure to have to win, providing Brisbane win after them, to keep their place in the top four. So it's actually, what do we got this week? It's if the Bulldogs win this week over Port, the same two sides will match up in the first
week one
in the finals. Yeah,
I'm saying it's a massive. It's likely.
So it'll be interesting.
Well, it is its favourite.
Yes, it is favourite. So that'll be interesting. I'm not sure if that's ever happened in the history or not of the AFL. I'm sure it has at some stage, but it's an interesting note that the top four sides will play in the last round, and if the Bulldogs win, the way it'll shake out, they'll play against each other round one of the finals. So
tell you what, they've got strong form, the Doggies, despite losing my Bombers and my Hawks. I've been telling you for a very long time that Bombers are the team on the up, and probably 3 months ago, I wouldn't have. I said that Hawthorn would barely win another game, but their hunger's there, and they're starting to pick off a couple of scalps, and it's pretty widely known, the record that Hawthorn are now starting to build against the top 8 sides. There's a bit of a change.
More coach driven on the way out to.
You think it's Clarko?
Oh, you don't?
Well, I think the players have now broken the shackles, and they're knowing they've got Sam Mitchell. So maybe their heads are a little bit clearer, and the message is only coming from Sam.
Yeah, I think Clarko
down off the bench.
I think Clarko might have knuckled down just on the way out for your mate Jeffrey.
Jeff's done it. There's a lot of commentary. Everyone wants Jeff's head on a stick at the moment.
I'll tell you who isn't enjoying these wins is Jeff. Not right now. His worst nightmare was Clarko winning the last 4 before he walks out the door. that sets it up for disaster next year if Mitchell's isn't producing. Anyway, back to the Bulldogs and Port.
They've won 10 of the last 12, the Power.
Yes, and listen, they're going as good as they can, and their preparation, even though personally I don't believe they can win the flag, they're, from a Port Adelaide point of view, they are ideally placed, in terms of a horse training performance. Kenny couldn't have done much better. He's got all his players back the last 2 or 3 weeks. They're all fresh. They'll have hard game time into them. Virtually their whole forward line, other than their big men, have come back. They've got all Gray, Fantasia, Zach Butters, Rosie, have all had time on the sidelines, all back running on top of the ground. So this is a big test for the Bulldogs because Port's really up their game both ends of the park. I know they come to the Dome, but there's an interesting stat for you, Scooty, that Port have played 5 times at the Dome this year, and they're 5-0. So they do like the Dome. Great matchup. Really looking forward to this.
How are you betting?
Not from a betting point of view. If I was going to have one play in the game, I'd actually play Port Adelaide 1-39 just for the value. But I'm just looking forward to watching this game. I think both sides, the win is big for both sides. Port need a big scalp going into the finals from a confidence point of view. Bulldogs have to win to maintain their top in their spot in the top 4. So really looking forward to this. As you said, what a round to finish, and the AFL's put a big draw card on the Friday night. Who's your tip?
Oh, I'm going to get on the doggies. I reckon they'll bounce back.
Yeah.
They got a wake up call. They've had a couple of wake up calls in the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
And I think we're going to have a bottle of Goose. I'll take the -6.5, and you can have the plus.
Yeah.
Bottle of Grey Goose.
Yeah.
Are we on?
Interesting.
Can we bet? Is that a bet?
What's that? No bet.
No bet.
No bet. No.
Come on, mate.
No. You're taking too many bottles of Goose off me these days. One other point to note is the Bulldogs did go over and beat Port by 19 points early this year. I think it was round 9. So they do have recent history over them, and that's a big win to go over to Adelaide and get that win. So they'll have that to draw on, the Bulldogs. But yeah, they'll definitely need to bounce back. So this is a big coaching week for Beveridge as well.
The next game in order there is Richmond versus Hawthorn, and this is our Rorke game. This isn't a preview.
It's not our Rorke game.
Well, we're signalling as a Rorke. So when the markets first opened weeks ago, it was I think it was a 4-goal line with the Tigers favourites, and now Hawthorn's form's improved. But more importantly, it looks like Hardwick has put the cue in the rack, and his players out, rested, could be more, and Hawthorn are now 9.5 points favourite against the Tigers. So
yes,
did you say they were moral off air before the Hawks?
I think it's a one-goer, so you can write it down whichever way you want. We had a bit of Twitter back and forth, waiting for prices or looking for prices to come out, what our thoughts were. As you said, a couple of weeks ago, Richmond would have been comfortably around the 4-goal favourite, and coming in before last week, they still would have been around the 2-goal, maybe the 15-point favourite. And we thought this week coming in that it would be about a pick and match. And obviously since then, Richmond have tipped out half a dozen.
Cochin, Nankervis, Edwards, Hooley, maybe Prestia.
Yes.
And you said one other, Lambert.
Asprey's retired. And, I mean, you'd think he'd play his last game, and he's under injury cloud, I think, with a thigh. Richmond have clearly thrown in the towel. Clarko's last game on the way out. I mean, history will go down. You know history's going to go down. Clarko win his last 4 when he leaves Hawthorn. And it's going to be, that's the storyline. Hawthorn are already off the map. I see one joint's already gone to 11 this morning. This is only going one way. How far it gets, I'm not sure.
40 plus Hawthorn?
Well, the smart judges like yourself might have slipped a couple of dollars into the Hawthorn. Yeah, you don't muck around when it was pick. You want to go straight to the blowout.
Jugular.
40 plus is a stretch. But yeah, if you're looking for your multis, get in quickly because this thing's evaporating like no tomorrow. And yeah, I believe this is a one. Richmond are paying for their end of season trip. You can mark it up whichever way you want. The result will come out next week, and if you come back and Hawthorn have smashed them, then play on.
Well, I love that. Hawkers just roll Tigers. In Clarko's finale, and Hardwick just gives
claps him off.
Yeah, just gives him a little prize as he walks out the door. Fantastic stuff. All right, there's our Rorke game of the week. Hawks to demolish the Tigers. What a beautiful thing that is. The defending premiers, and Hawks are on the up. Yep. Brisbane versus West Coast Eagles is another game that could go 40 plus. Saturday afternoon at the Rabbitohs. And the line here is on the move, 27.5 to 28.5. We've got the Lions 120, the Eagles 470. Kane Corns was famously quoted as saying that West Coast have got the 10 best players in the competition. And
he said their top 10 is the best.
Is the best.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not sure.
Not quite.
Not quite. All right. Brisbane Lions, how are they going to cover this? They've gone through a bit of a slump, and they've put a couple of good games back-to-back here. And the Rabbitohs.
They are. They're at home, back in their comfort zone. They've been travelling for a while, and obviously now they'll see out this season. They've had a couple of soft kills just to get their form back. Freo and Collingwood put on some big scores. Put on 118 and 142, I think. Some big victories. They got their engine running again. They look like the forward line's back in form. Might have covered the loss of Hipwood. Danaher's going to tear one of these finals apart. He just makes crucial errors at times and does miss some gettable goals. But he is launching himself at the ball. He looks fit. He's got a smile on his face. He can kick goals from anywhere. And the midfield of Brisbane's got the hunger back. And even 3 or 4 weeks ago, everyone was saying Brisbane are off. They're slow. One injury too many maybe with Hipwood. But geez, you turn around it quickly, don't they? All of a sudden now they've got a chance if the Bulldogs lose on Friday night, which they'll know. And that's part of the reason why I'm really keen on Brisbane. This line is going to go only one way. And, especially if Port do get over the Bulldogs, this market will stretch out real quick because the team they're playing are cooked. And this is a tough road trip for a Western Australian team go to Brisbane anyway at the best of times. They're certainly had enough. Everyone switched off, even the coach. They got very little to play for West Coast. And I see they're already on holidays mentally, so they'll use this trip to Brisbane as their end-of-season trip, I think, themselves. Brisbane, well coached, they're disciplined, they're high scoring, and they'll put up a number here on West Coast. If they're leading early at quarter time, this could be another easily 40 plus for mine.
Yeah, maybe a 10-goal jobby. The other M word bet there looks the total 163.5. The Brisbane weather is absolutely sensational this week. Looking at bomb.gov.au, it is sunshine and happy days up there. 163.5 might be over before three-quarter time. This one, as you said, no tackles from the West Coast Eagles. They've lost all respect. They had a massive edge over the Dockers in the derbies. They've let that slip, and I can't see them turning up whatsoever. 163.5 is a little chips in jobby, isn't it? The total.
I think this total should be over 170 myself. Again, during the daytime, late in the game, it'll be turned into night, but the dew won't have had a chance to set in. Just the way Brisbane are scoring up and about, they'll play at speed. West Coast won't play the normal keepings off game. So, I expect plenty of goals. If they kick straight, they'll cover easily.
All right, let's have a look at the second best match of the round. I say that because these two teams are defensively minded and we like goals, we like action, and it's Geelong versus Melbourne Saturday night at the Cattery. The line opened there at 4.5. It's now into 1.5. The Cats 185, D's 198, and as I said, 1.5 the line. Thoughts here, MG? A lot of the, as we said before, if the Doggies beat Port, they're going around again, and it'll be interesting to see where the match is played. But who is going to win this one Saturday night?
Yeah, if this is, we'll call it, what do we call it? The Friday night's the entree. This is the main course.
There you go.
On Saturday night. This is
bless the AFL.
Yes, they've done it. The scheduling this week is superb. What do we got? These two teams, it'll be interesting because they'll kind of know from the Friday night what each other need. So I find this game a little tough to invest in, just on the proviso that there could be some funny buggers, more maybe from Geelong, because Scott loves, diversifying his tactics. He might put something on ice if they know who's playing, which they will going in. So just keep that in mind when you're betting. But, just from a contest point of view, this is going to be a low-scoring game, defensive-minded, as you said. It's what do we got? Second and the two top defences are playing off here.
No Tom Stewart, though.
Played down at Geelong.
Big problem.
Yeah, there's a few factors, though. Played down at Geelong at night generally leads to low-scoring games. And with the two best defences. Even though Melbourne's now got their offence up and running the last couple of weeks, I think this will be a low grind-out game. We've seen overnight money for Melbourne, and we actually the only tip I could have got is I thought Melbourne 1-39 around the 250 mark was the play.
Good, yeah.
Just because I think Melbourne have got some good ins. They'll have Mayback, McDonald, and Viney. Huge ins, and I think they'll all play because Melbourne. What I get out of Melbourne is Geelong may not care as much, even though they're at home. Melbourne definitely want to finish on top for one. They want winning form because they've achieved nothing so far, Melbourne, so there'll be no foot off the accelerator, and they'll want to go in full of running and get the scalp. Not saying Geelong won't, but I think Melbourne just may have that edge a bit cleaner. So I think Melbourne may even, and it's tough to say Geelong at Geelong, but Melbourne may even deserve to start favourite in this game. So I know it's starting to head that way, whether it pushes over and Melbourne to start favourite. I'm keen to be with Melbourne just the 1-39. I think if you're going to bet the small margins, if you want a bit more value in, the 1-24 for either team. I don't think there'll be too much in them. And yeah, what a cracking match. And watch this because they may line up against each other during the finals for sure.
Fascinating contest, and I think a lot of punters will be thinking no Tom Stewart, no Cats, but
no Zach Tui as well.
Yeah.
So that definitely hurts them. And we've been less confident on the Cats most of the year. They're very hard to tip against at home, but again, a bit like Port going up against the Bulldogs, this is their best chance, and I think Melbourne's the same.
Watch and learn because it is very likely that these sides are going to play each other again. So, yeah, I think MG's on the money there. Chris Scott, cat and mouse tactics for sure. Sunday night at the Dome, we've got Carlton versus GWS Giants.
What a match.
Unbelievable match here, and the betting is absolutely fascinating. 21.5 points here and a little bit of a nibble for the plus, but $1.30 the Giants, $3.65 the Blues. GWS up and about. They're back in business.
Yes.
It's a shocking price to be taking, but the way they're playing, they should be winning.
Yeah, no favours with the price. I think the bookies have definitely pushed up against Carlton. The modelers have probably broken the model on Carlton, I think, for this year. It hasn't worked. They've been all over them really hard for the first half of the year. They've started to drop off in the back end. Something hasn't worked in model land for the Blues this year. And, you can't possibly tip Carlton in knowing that this is probably their coach's last game. It is Eddie Betts' $3.50.
But they didn't really get up for nerves.
100%, and that's what you got to back on. I mean, I just think Carlton,
not getting up for anyone.
Carlton are just a broken team at the moment, and they're just devoid of any spirit. And, I think it was so disappointing last week of the Blues, what they dished up for Murphy, who has been a worrier for them for a long time when they've been down the bottom of the ladder. And he had his chance to leave the club, and I know that's a different story, but, he was definitely offered big money to leave Carlton. He stuck fat, even though the side was going nowhere. And then they turn up and show that rubbish in his 300th and last game. So I wouldn't be hanging your hat on Carlton this week turning up for Eddie Betts, who's been another champion of the club in 2 stints, probably one of the great forward pockets of all time. And all the other stuff he's done and will continue to do. But, it'll be interesting because if Carlton show 2 rubbish performances to finish the year, lose their coach, and that's the way they want to send off 2 of their best in the last decade, it doesn't bode well for the fabric of their team going forward, I think. But saying that, I just think the Giants are just classes above anyway, regardless of what the outcomes, what they're playing for and who they're sending off this week. I think the Giants have found a gear, and they're starting to press the button. It's not so much defensive-minded anymore. They've got their defence set in. Now they're pressing, going back through the middle. Their offense is up and about. They'll just outscore. And Carlton's defence is crap, pretty much. you saw the way they leaked against Port. What did they do? Put 19 goals in a row. So, the line 21.5. Listen, it's no gift, but you'd only bet one way. And if the Giants get on top early, they'll put Carlton. This is the you could definitely back 40 plus in this game, and you could also have a tickle at the 60 plus because if Carlton pack it in, Giants are the side that they'll eat them.
Yeah, if the real Giants turn up, you'd have to be backing the minus with confidence there. That is for sure. Okay, Premiership market. Let's have a quick look at this one. real tricky here with the home ground advantage, and no one knows where the games are going to be played. So again, the modelers that are trying to forecast the odds of this one would be scratching their heads, because there's a definite advantage for knowing where the match is going to be played. No one knows at this stage. So the Cats are $4 favourite, D's $4, Western Bulldogs $4.60, Port Adelaide $6.50, Brisbane Lions $8, Swans $13, GWS $17, and then Bombers $26. I tell you what, the GWS and Essendon look horrifically under the odds looking at those markets. I can't fathom, and I couldn't tip anyone into taking odds about those sides. It looks like a bit of a stalemate in premiership betting, and the bookies have got their foot on pretty much anyone until venues are confirmed. But I don't know what their model is. I had a soft spot for the Ds with MCG, a massive chance of hosting the grand final. I couldn't be taking $4 about them. The Western Bulldogs have got chinks. There might be a slight edge with Port Adelaide at the moment if the game gets played in South Australia. Well, 2 years in a row at the Gabba. Hard to think it'd happen, but then that'd make Brisbane Lions.
Yeah.
Is there one team that you'd back or lay with confidence at the moment?
Probably not too much I'd back. I don't think there's too much meat on the bone in this market. Saying that, if you kind of break it down, look at it head to head, who would you rather be on, Geelong or Melbourne? And going into this week, it shows they're both at $4. Geelong are playing at home this week, and all of a sudden we've seen the match betting at Geelong are only -1.5. So if you took that long term view and say these two teams were to play off in the grand final, and it wouldn't be at Geelong, Melbourne start clear favourites.
Okay, all
things being equal. So if you're looking to put it in an order, I think Melbourne have to be favourites over Geelong in the premiership market. So I would be laying Geelong as opposed, or backing Melbourne in those things. But this is the way I look at it. I'm a layer of Geelong, and as you said, the bottom three teams, I couldn't come into Sydney at 13, Giants at 17, and Essendon at 26.
You may as well back them the whole way through.
Yes, well, 100%. But, if you like the other four teams, I can't talk you out of it. And, I'd be playing around those because, as you said, teams like Port and maybe Brisbane might end up getting home finals, which will make their team look a bit more value. So that's the way I'd be playing right now. And Geelong losing Stewart for the year, I just don't think they can win a premiership without Stewart.
Well, okay. So big ramifications there, that injury long term. Okay, let's have a look at the Brownlow medal market. And for the first time in a long time, we may have a cliffhanger. I think the Bont was as short as $2.10 at Top Sport. Now he's $1.90, sorry. And now he's back out to $2.50. I think he's even touched better. Recently, I think he got it to $2.60 or $2.70 at some stage. Ollie Wines has been a bit of the smoky. There's plenty of people that are all over Twitter spruiking that they've taken 150s and big odds him. So good luck to those punters. $4.60 he is. Clayton Oliver $6.50. Jack Steele, your smoky MG $8.50. Petrarca $9. Sam Walsh $9.75. Darcy Parish, my man, $10. Jack McRae, $21. Tommy Mitchell, my man, also $31. Zach Merritt, $31. But wow, this is starting to become a great finish and a great polling Brownlow medal event. This is probably your wheelhouse. Your futures markets, you've been on fire with the Bulldogs and Brisbane Lions early. You're getting good overs there. You tipped up Bont at the start of the season about $13, so he's your futures ticket there. He's the favourite. But this could come down to an absolute round 23 special.
Yeah, so we've got the top four sides playing each other, as we've spoken down in the previews. So basically we've got Bont going against Ollie Wines, and we've got Geelong playing both Petrarca and Oliver. So
massive swings.
In mine, I've got five that can win it going into this round. So yeah, I think this is the most exciting count we've had in many a year, and hopefully it portrays that on the night. But yeah, watch out for these two games because they'll have big impacts going forward. And yeah, you call him a smoky. I'm not sure how much of a smoky he is anymore. We've kind of followed him in for a bit still. I think $21 was the first time we tipped him in. He gets more of a free hit. He's got Fremantle in terms of piling votes. So they're the five that I think can win it. So yeah, definitely a watch out. I think Bont. He's the obvious and he's in the mix, but he's not a 6-4 chance. And if he doesn't knock-on votes this week, and say everything plays out.
What price will it be? $3?
Well, so I'll put it this way. If no one piles this round, which I don't think many did last week of the top ones, I think Bond starts closer to $3 for sure. I just think money will come for the others. But again, we'll see what happens this week. And this is, hopefully on the night, what happens in round 23 might decide our Brownlow in about, 4 weeks' time. So, be a keen watcher for both matches.
Outstanding stuff. All right, we've also got some news, and it won't open officially until next Monday, but MG is going to do a punters club, a syndicate for Brownlow Medal Night. And what we're going to do is next Monday we'll open up a syndicate with Top Sport. You go to the benefits, the live stream information there, click the Brownlow function there. You can deposit up to $1,000. So if you want MG to steer you through the last week leading up to the Brownlow Medal and for Brownlow Medal Night, if you just want to deposit and follow all his action, he's been keeping his spreadsheet. He's been doing this for as long as he can remember. I think he was a teenager when he first started it. So MG's going to try and pull Tristan and the Merlihans pants down in not just the Brownlow medal market, but all the prop markets, the totals, the team totals. So if you just want to piggyback his action, make sure you check out the Little Birdie website next Monday and over our Twitter accounts and join in the fun there. So you can deposit anywhere from $50 to $1,000. So we'll do a punters club syndicate stream. We'll figure out how we're going to broadcast the night itself, or we might just do a series of short little videos in the week leading up. Every time we have a bet, we might post a video, and we'll really flare it up on the Brownlow medal. We know that people love betting on it. MG loves it. It's his wheelhouse, so make sure you check that out. Jump aboard Top Sport in their benefit section, and you can join our syndicate for the Brownlow medal. And make sure you gamble responsibly and only put in as much as you can afford to lose. But this is one that we like to think that we've got a bit of an edge over the bookies. The race is run, so fingers crossed we can get it done with the Brownlow. All right, it's going to be a fascinating finish to round 23. We're going to figure out what's happening in the finals picture, especially with the top four. It's going to be a cracker. We've given away our Rort game of the week, which is my Hawkers to beat the Tigers at a farewell. The fabulous Mr. Clarkson. He's absolutely on fire, and so are the Hawks, which is great. But that's our AFL segment done and dusted for the regular season, so we'll talk finals next week. But if you want to figure out your modelling for horse racing, make sure you check out puntingform.com.au. They're Australia's best online form guide and database for the ponies. You can bet on Australian, Hong Kong and Singapore racing, so make sure you hit up puntingform.com.au and talk to Shane Baker. If you're having problems, he will hold your hand and give you a little tutorial if you don't know how it operates, and you can get the raw data so you can plug it into your models at home. That's for horse racing, so make sure you get behind puntingform.com.au. Up next, we'll talk rugby league with our favourite top rope Tedeschi. Welcome back to Little Birdie Podcast. I'm your host, Scoot. I've got MG in studio. Now it's time to talk rugby league with top rope Tedeschi and a little bit of Hall of Fame. How are you, top rope?
I'm up and about. I'm still here. Look, it was a tough slog on the punt last weekend, but another week, and we'll find some wins. Don't worry about that.
Live to fight another day, and it's been an interesting weekend of sport, and surprisingly, Melbourne Storm haven't covered a minus. So the auto bet of the year has let us down. Is there
2 out of 3 weeks? 2 out of 3 weeks, Scooty. It's let us down.
They're on the slide.
Very dark days, hence probably my depression that is coming across, the general lack of enthusiasm that you would normally see from old top rope. But we're the Panthers back at fullback this week. You'd think against the Gold Coast team missing their best player, Storm are back, and we're getting ready for them. And the good news is, boys, we'll be collecting on most of those pre-season bets in 3 weeks' time. So the top four, which should have already been paid out by the bookies, Modern Premiership, you'd think is home. So a few nice collects for the punters there.
Absolutely, all over Storm pre-season around $6 or $7, and the South Sydney Rabbitohs was the other futures tickets that Nick Tedeschi suggested around the $13 mark. And let's have a quick look at the Premiership betting odds courtesy of topsport.com.au. The Storm $2.10, so a great green book opportunity there if you want to crush up the Storm, but you are absolutely mad if you laid any back there. Penrith Panthers $3.80. The Boonwas, my side, $5, and Manly Seagulls, $8.50. Sydney Roosters are hobbling to the line. They're playing okay given their run of injuries, and then Parramatta Eels. Gee, I tell you what, they're no good against the top four sides, and they got a really soft underbelly there. But the South Sydney Rabbitohs are just going along nice and quietly, top roper. Are they now poking their head up to be the biggest danger of the Storm?
Well, at 110 on the trot, their last 8 games averaged 43.5 points, so they're certainly up and about, that's for sure. Look, I hate to rattle off the most overused statistic in rugby league, but no team who's ever conceded 50 has ever gone on to win a premiership. I'm not sure South have the pack to go on and win the title. They've got a shocking record against the Storm, so I actually think Manly are probably the biggest threats to the Melbourne Storm. You can leave me out of Penrith. As long as this competition is played in Queensland, and it will be for the rest of the year, they are going to get absolutely. They've got a really poor record, at least from a betting proposition, away from Sydney. So I think that Manly are the big threats there. Fascinating to see what happens with Tommy Turbo, though. He was supposedly out for the rest of the regular season. MG went into a deep depression, shut the curtains, turned off the lights, went for a big long sleep. But the good news comes through. He was named this week. He's begging to play. Look, the line's 6.5 to 16, so you think that would suggest he probably is going to play. But I would be stunned if he was risked this week. Even with the most minor of injuries, I would be absolutely stunned. Hasler's got a history of this kind of ducks and drakes kind of stupidity. So hopefully this is paying for the old Manly inter-season trip, the old plus 16.5 Canberra.
The betting suggests that he's playing, but the injury from all reports is sort of 2 to 3 weeks. And they're going to make a run in the finals, so it would be folly to risk him. That is for sure. Now, the Hall of Fame is a segment that we enter someone in who's done something fabulous for the punt. Last week, we put in Akbal, the Olympic weightlifter. Jamie Carr's in there, Huey Bowman, Tiny Thompson. There's been a host of stars. Cam Munster, the Melbourne Storm, I think they entered it last season as well. But each week we indoctrinate another person in the Hall of Fame for doing something marvellous on the punt. MG, have you got any nominations that we can crush early doors? There's a couple of sick beats that you mentioned earlier about the GWS game. There's a couple of absolute howlers, 40-plus lines not covering. It was just up and down.
Not Hall of Fame worthy. No, it's been a very quiet week.
But what is Hall of Fame worthy if you're on the other side?
Yeah, well, I wasn't on the other side.
I'm going to let punters into a little bit behind the curtain in the Hall of Fame. You don't get in the Hall of Fame if you've screwed any of us three. That's not how it works. The Hall of Fame is very much people who have helped punters. When we talk about punters, we're talking about us three as a starting point. So you're not getting in if you've screwed us. We had nothing but bad beats last weekend.
Yeah, some tough watches.
Very tough watches. I was on baby duty all last week, so I'm bereft of an inclusion. It was one of my lowest turnovers, and I sort of dabbled in some of DK stuff, and he was on the roller coaster, so I can't put DK in.
It was a quiet week. What do we got top rope?
Yeah, look, I was at the same very, very quiet week, and I thought we often look at the past as to what we can do in the past, what's just happened, who's done something to get us over a total, who's us. And I'm sitting there wondering, geez, I copped a lot of bad beats on the weekend. I'm not really finding a lot from the past. Maybe it's time to look forward, reevaluate your future. What are you doing? And then I tune in on Monday night to, if this doesn't win a Logie, I don't know whatever will. Tales from Tiger Town. I don't know if you boys have seen this documentary. It's inside the West Tigers, and the real breakout star of the show is Justin Pascoe. Look, the term numpty gets overused a bit, but I think in this case it's completely appropriate. This is a bloke who is a CEO of a rugby league club who decides to start wearing acting like he's going to a Guns N' Roses concert, showing off his tats. Anyway, a highlight of last weekend was of last week's episode was Justin Pascoe, CEO, being dictated to by the money man of the club, Harry Triguboff. He got told, you can only come to my office after 3 o'clock. So acting like a diligent little schoolboy, Justin Pascoe rocks up, begging for cash for next year. Goes in and treats treats Harry Triggerboff, one of the wealthiest men in Australia, boss of Meriton, like a stroke victim in a nursing home. Yeah, presenting him with merchandise and speaking condescendingly to him, and then afterwards cuts away and it goes, there's definitely a mutual respect there. It was like a scene from David Brent in The Office. Mutual respect. There was absolutely no way Harry Triggerboff respects Justin Pascoe. It was wonderful television and told me one thing. You bet against the West Tigers, wherever this bloke is in charge of the club. He's in the Hall of Fame because he's going to make us a lot of money in the future. Thank you very much, Justin Pascoe.
Justin Pascoe. What were West Tigers thinking with this doco? A few of my mates in our betting chat, is it a PR move just gone absolutely wrong? It's more of a parody doco than anything. It's just completely backfired. It just shows what a rabble they are. They've let so many good players out the door, and then they just show what a basket case they've been.
So I've asked a couple of CEOs, would they let this happen at their club?
Why would you let it go to air?
Laughter. Oh, it's absolutely insane. But Justin Pascoe does like to put himself on TV. A little rumour going around he did want to be on the block once upon a time, so that was going to be his big ride to fame. So I think there might be a bit of self-aggrandisement might be the reason for it, but no one has come out good out of this except for probably Adam Dewey. The club looks like a basket case. Some of the players at the club you realise you never want in your football team. As one CEO told me, it has absolutely pushed up the market value for a competent CEO. If you know what you're doing in the NRL, you're going to make a lot more money at your next contract when they see who's running one of the clubs.
It just confirms what everyone's been thinking. Behind closed doors, West Tigers are an absolute joke and a rabble clown show. It's funny stuff, and you should tune into the doco, that's for sure. All right, let's get on to serious business now with NRL Round 23 action. And Thursday night, they're going to put on a good spectacle here. The Lions just out the gate, but that's Rugby League in 2021, and we've got our Storm versus the Gold Coast Titans, Seabus Super Stadium, so it's going to be a cracker there. $1.09 the Storm, $7.75 the Gold Coast Titans, and the line 21.5, 51.5 there the total. And I've said it before, but what is eating Gilbert Grape? What's the go with Pappenhausen starting off the bench? Enough's enough, top rope.
Yeah, well, Pappenhausen's back on the starting side this week, so
beautiful.
He's starting fullback. Jerome Hughes caught that bad hit last week. He is out. Justin Norman being rested, Dale Finucane being rested after a HIA. So a few players out for the Storm here. Nico Hines started halfback, Ryan Pappenhausen at fullback. I think it's a good move to get Pappenhausen back during a full game. Not overly enamoured with the Storm this week. Titans have a good record against them. They're missing AJ Brimson. I'd still rather be on the minus than the plus. But my best play in this game is the under. I am coming to the belief that totals may be a little too high. I think we might have... we talked about this earlier in the year, MG, about the bookies not adjusting the totals high enough. I think they might be too high right now. I think the game and the officiating and the way players are playing has probably adjusted to the new rules a bit. I'm not sure that the totals are low enough now. So a game like this, I'll be backing the under 51.5.
Wow. So all of a sudden, no real play on the minus, and now we're going the other way. So a little bit of a reverse action. Nico Hines out of halfback. Thoughts there? Yeah,
he'll play in the halves next year for Cronulla. That's what he's been signed for. His role won't change a lot. He'll bowl up all over the field. So they're a very flexible team, the Storm. So I think the lack of Jerome Hughes could be an issue. But all the talk of the brilliance of Munster and the brilliance of Pappenhausen is Jerome Hughes that brings it all together. So it'll be interesting to see how they go without him. We've had him all year. He's played pretty much the entire season when your Munsters have come in and out, your Pappenhausens have been in and out, all the like. So Harry Grant's been in and out. So I think it'll be interesting to see how they go without him. But look, this Titan team has been absolutely gutted by the loss of AJ Brimson. He is their best player without a question. So, the Storm, the Titans have said 35 plus in 5 or 6 games against top 5 sides this year. So the Storm, I see the Storm putting a big score up here. I just don't think the Titans scoring. The Storm tend to really buckle down after a poor defensive performance. Conceding 16 points is probably pretty good for most teams. For the Storm, it's well below average. So I think they'll have a pretty strong defensive game this week, and I think you want to be on the under. But I think probably the best bet in the game is being on the Titans team total under.
Okay, and so we'll take that one to the bank under 51.5. And match of the round is Friday night at Suncorp, 8 o'clock. Penrith Panthers, $1.70 against the Rabbitohs, $2.18. 2.5 the line there, and a flat 48. My bunnies are back in business, and if Penrith are so bad on the road, I want to snap up that 2.5, the Boonwars. What are your thoughts here, Top Rope?
Give me the bunnies. This is a great bet this week. I'm very keen on South. Penrith, they've covered 7 of their last 22 when they've been interstate. That is not an ideal record. They struggle away from Sydney. They also don't hold their form particularly well. So they hold their poor form particularly well. They've only covered 2 of their last 10 off a non-cover. They didn't cover against the Dragons last week. I'm not particularly keen on the Panthers. I'm not big on motivating factors as a gambling guide usually either, but Penrith put 56 on South last time. It was South's last loss. I think it was a real wake-up call for them. I think they're already playing pretty heavily on the minds of South here. So I think South are an excellent bet. I think they've got the attacking firepower to really take it to Penrith in this one. Not sure Penrith have a lot of points. And Penrith won reasonably easy against the Dragons last week. But Penrith had a lot of possession and a lot of ball on the Saints line and really didn't take advantage of it. They dropped a lot of ball. Yeah, I don't think Penrith are going that well, to be honest. I'll be on South for sure.
I'd be super keen to put the Rabbits plus into my lock of the week, but I don't want to mock them. I can stop anyone. I stopped Western Bulldogs last week against the Hawks in my lock of the week, but I think it's one of the best lines for the week, but I don't really know what I'm talking about, but Top Rope gives me a lot of confidence. 2.5 the Bunnies. I'd be surprised if that lasts. I think the money will run hard for the Rabbits. West Tigers Cronulla is another close betting match. So let's have a look at that one. 3 o'clock at Brown Park, Rockhampton, $1.57 the Sharks. West Tigers $2.45 and the line 4.5, 49.5 the total here. Thoughts, Top Rope? How are we going to tackle this one?
Well, the new Justin Pascoe betting angle suggests we'll be on the minus 4.5. So
nice
we'll definitely be having something on the minus. Best bet in the game though. Very keen on the over in this one. I'll be on the unders in every other game this weekend. But day game, Sharks are in a huge over spot on the road as a favourite. Tigers in a huge over spot off a poor attacking performance and a good defensive performance. The over here for sure. Very keen. Rockhampton, I expect to play hard and fast too, so I'll be on the over.
A few unit play there, so load up the over 49.5 with topsport.com.au. And the final game that we're going to have a look at is Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock up at Toowoomba. The Sydney Roosters, $1.26 here against St George Illawarra Dragons, $3.95. The line, 12.5. A little bit of money for the plus there, and 49.5 the total. Roosters found a way last week. Thoughts on Victor Radley's situation?
Look, if you take the incident in isolation, he's been very harshly treated, but he's got a rap sheet, as long as Roger Rogerson's. Like, it's not, he's no choir boy. So, the NRL moved to, probably 15 years ago, moved to try to make this more black and white. The problem with this is that you are going to get recidivist cop long suspensions. Like, in and of itself, it deserved significantly less than what Corey Harawira or Ryan Madison got. But, what's this? His 9th report this year, his 3rd suspension. He's already copped 5 weeks on the sideline at one stage. So, I don't have a lot of sympathy, to be honest.
Toby Green.
He's a Toby Green of the NRL. Yeah. So he's the bad boy, the pin-up. So if anything goes wrong, it's Victor Radley and you're automatically suspended and softer rules for everyone else. I reckon it's a poor way that NRL and AFL are going. You just can't victimise these players. There's each case on their merits, and it's not like he goes out and intends to snap this bloke's leg the whole time. He plays with passion. Accidents are going to happen, and it was a clear accident for mine. I thought it was ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, Top Rope said it in the initial response. He said, it was just because it was Victor Radley. If it was taken in isolation, it would be almost play on. So every comp seems to have one. So
I think it's a really poor thing that's creeping into both codes, that's for sure. It's week in, week out, and it's just all this trial by slow-mo. It's
it's a fast game.
But it's just bullshit.
Yeah, you can't slow it down.
It's rules made by people that haven't played at the top level for mine.
Yeah, especially when you
I understand what they're trying to do, but it's I think it's wrong.
You got two blokes running at each
Full
other.
tilt.
Not small blokes either. They
Exactly.
can't exactly stop on a dime a lot of the time. Yeah, it's...
There's also this need for this black and white solutions to things, and it's taken away. It kind of goes from umpiring through to those giving out the charges, match review committee, whatnot, all the way to the judiciary. And there are these black and white rules in place. If you've done this, if you've done that. Corey Harrow Norris should have copped 8 weeks. That was a vicious swinging, a vicious shoulder that hit, that was deliberately launched himself. But I don't cop the fact that I don't think anyone deliberately goes out to hurt someone. No, intention means nothing to me. I don't think it should really be taken into account. But it was an incredibly reckless act that had the chance to probably do what happened to Pappenhausen, and leave a star player out of the game for a couple of months, which is not a deal. That's the stuff that's got to be stamped out. What Radley did, was
they should ban it altogether because
suspension.
they should ban it altogether and say that you can't smother the kicker late, because these things are just going to keep popping up, and it's just never going to be fair. Anyway, let's talk about something that we're absolutely butchering, and it's a lock of the week. And you were out in straight sets, top rope Tedeschi. You storm minus 23.5 into Tom Burgess anytime, and it was a bit of Ric Flair lair that went tits up. And then I said earlier, I got the behemoth leg of my multi. I put in racing, and you guys wanted to protest, but I run this show, so I can do whatever I want. Behemoth.
Luckily for you, we tried to protest to the Adelaide Stewards, and we didn't realise you had them on the books.
I was in bed with them. But Western Bulldogs let me down against my Hawks, who could be back in business. But MG carried the can with his Captain Obvious multi. He had Geelong into Geelong Port Brisbane at $1.60. So brick on brick. We've only got about 5 or 6 weeks of the show left, MG. So you're going to have to put the accelerator down at some point for Lock of the Week to get to this magical 5K mark. And so we can build on our 10K donation to charity here, raise.org.au, for people that are going down the wrong track as a youth. And these guys provide mentors. And we definitely need a mentor for this section of the show, because we are absolutely paddling. I am full of confidence this week, though. And I'll give you an absolute special this week. A six-legger.
Any horses in it?
Just morals. Pardon?
Any horses?
No. I'll come back and I'll even the competition up.
All right. Okay. Right.
No, I'm found a behemoth, but he was a moral. Okay, here it is. Hawthorn versus the Tigers in the dead rubber. The Tigers aren't trying this week, and my Hawks are in an absolute moral position here at $1.55. The Swans against the Gold Coast Suns at $1.20 go in. Brisbane Lions against the West Coast Eagles, who are so gutless. So gutless. GWS against the other gutless side, Carlton. Absolute morals. The Bombers will bury Collingwood at $1.29, and my trusty Storm at $1.09. So that's $4.07 for my 6-leg multi, and that is money for jam. That they'll all win. They're all got bigger aspirations than every side they're playing against, and I've never been more confident in my life.
I noticed Top Rope didn't write down one of those selections while you were reading those out. So, I don't know, he doesn't still the same confidence as you, Scoot?
Load up.
Hey?
Load up.
It's a lot of
lock of the week.
It's a lot of cheering for a lock of the week.
Nah, they're just 6 morals. They're 6 good things.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, what have you got then?
Well, I think I tipped you the Hawthorn one, didn't I? What price are we putting in? It's been a landslide since we first discussed
I think it's like 4 goals. Now it's 10 points the other way. It's huge.
Yeah, we spoke about it earlier. It's a one-y. So you're
going to put the Hawks in? Is this what you're doing?
Well, I was putting it in originally. I can't believe you put it in now. I'm trying to scratch it out.
Well, if it's a raw, I want to be in.
Yeah, no, that's true. I'm just coming with a well-timed run. To get to the end of the season. So I'm just going to stick with my trebles here. Hawthorn are a lock at the 155. Sydney just for
We're going to have to clip that up. Hawthorn are a lock.
Sydney, some sugar at the 120 head-to-head, and Brisbane Lions at the line minus 28.5.
What's that? What price that?
350 all up. So that'll turn, what have I got? 320 into hopefully 1,130.
Outstanding.
With a couple of weeks to go, that'll get me to the $5,000 in grand final time.
Easy game.
Top rope.
Top rope. Over to you, mate. We're very confident this week. Finally, we're going to break through.
MG's coming with a well-timed run. I'm looking to pull off a Belle de Jour in the 2001 Golden Slipper or a Chautauqua in Hong Kong. I'm Stephen on this. I got a 5-leg multi at the juicy odds of $22.84.
Wow.
Hunters, right. $22.84.
This is otherwise known as a Hail Mary.
Exactly.
Why don't you just throw one more and then go for the home run and just land it straight
I was thinking about that, but I wanted to create a bit of drama for the punters next week, so I wanted to throw it on the Storm when they get rolled after 18 games or whatnot.
Yeah, burn it on $1.20.
Let's have it.
Under 51.5 Gold Coast Melbourne. Under 50.5 Canberra Manly. Under 48 Penrith South Sydney. Under 51.5 Canterbury Newcastle. Under 49.5 St George Illawarra Sydney Roosters.
This is completely reverse of everything that we've spoken about for the entire year of this new version of rugby league.
Yeah. And things have changed. You've got to be malleable in this. As we have all discussed, I very much am a traditional plus and under punter. I've always been over it. You had to adjust. The totals weren't high enough. Yeah, the refs aren't calling as many set restarts anymore. Players have adapted significantly better to it. You're seeing some really low-scoring games now. The two in great weather on a fast track last Sunday, you saw totals of 34 and 30. Games are finishing well below. I think the lines for most games should be around the kind of 46 to 48 mark. I think the 50 games are way too high, especially the Newcastle Canterbury game. They've played, since 2008, they've played 21 games, 17 have gone under, average score of 37 points. Canterbury have no points in them. They're the worst attacking side in the comp. The Knights are a bottom 4 attacking side. I really don't understand this line at all. Yeah, the Knights probably win pretty comfortably. They probably win 30-6, something like that. So it's way too low.
Top rope. Just a quick one. With playoffs around the corner, is there any thought or process put into the defenses starting to stiffen and stuff with finals ahead, and also the games carrying a bit more weight in terms of the outcomes, getting ladder positions and making finals, that the scoring may come down? Is that like more of a pattern thing, or you just think now that the totals, which we spoke about probably, almost 2 months ago now, that we thought the totals would get to too high and it would turn around?
Yeah, I think a combination of both. So you saw last week, the final game of the week, Cronulla and Newcastle both needed to win. Whoever won was going to sneak into the 8. Whoever wasn't was probably going to be the outside looking in. It's a real close race for those 7th and 8th spots. It was just a pure defensive battle. 30 points on, probably as fast a track as you're going to see in the NRL at Redcliffe. It was you're going to see a lot of those games really stiffen up from a defensive point of view. And you are going to see teams like the Storm, who are traditionally a good defence anyway, really try to win the way. The Roosters, they've lost so many backs. The only way they can win is through a strong defence. They can't win, running up 40 points anymore. The only sides you've probably got to be really worried about are probably South and Manly, trying to really run up scores, who probably have some concerns defensively. But you've seen Wayne Bennett. They only conceded 6 points last week, South. But they are the teams that you would expect will be looking to defend a lot better than they have been. So I just think these lines are too high. I think there's a lot of factors pointing towards some unders in the next kind of couple of weeks.
It's a lot of defence for top rope this week.
I love it.
Yeah, a lot of on the line stuff he'll be.
He called it early at the start of the season. The totals weren't set high enough.
Yeah.
And so if he says, all right, flip and reverse, I'm taking notice. And especially like if he's not tipping the Melbourne Storm minus, there's alarm bells ringing in my melon.
Yeah.
I'll still be betting the Melbourne Storm minus. I'm just not.
Yeah.
You're not.
I think next week will be the week when they kind of have a full side back is when we'll really see them start clicking.
Okay, so we're going for a Hail Mary underplay, and I've just snuck in a little $80 note to win the guts of 2000 myself, just in a little count out wide with Top Sport. So
It'll be a big week next week when we're all rolling.
Well, mate, I'm starting to do my absolute life on nappy, so I need to start hitting everything, and the pressure is on me now. I'm the only earner in the house. All right, it's been a fabulous show. Nick Tedeschi, absolutely on fire with the Hall of Fame. Justin Pascoe, the West Tigers, Rabble. The doco's out now, so make sure if you need a belly laugh, that's definitely something that you should have a look at. I saw someone else comparing, I think it was like Mark McClure or something like that, compare David Teague to Craig Bellamy in one of the shows, like 360 or something like that. That's,
Maybe they're related.
oh, God.
The only comparison you could draw.
What's a David T?
Well, I tell you what, he's going to be a coach that's going to be sacked any minute, Top Rope. So,
You know I love that. You know I love that.
He's next man out. That is for sure. All right, that's a wrap from us. Big thanks to you, Top Rope. Good luck in your bunker up there. The punt will get us through all this chaos. We've got Bet Doctor tomorrow. We're in the Apple Store, Spotify, SoundCloud. We're on YouTube if you want to watch the Little Birdie podcast on the big screen, and Bet Doctor as well if you want to check out the horse replays. It's fascinating stuff for the final round of AFL NRL. Head to the Little Birdie shop if you want these guys' thoughts for this week and the rest of the finals season. Jump on board, and we'll see you next week. See you, Top Rope.